Welcome back to My Hero Academia Anime Review, episode 223. We are here reviewing the 159th episode of the series My Hero Academia, A Girl's Ego, which also happens to be the final episode of Season 7. In this video, not only discuss that, but also my final thoughts and what's going to go on forward for this thing. So, after the long recap that takes up about 4 minutes of the episode, after the recap, all the thing with Toga and all the twice disappearing, all twice duplicates. So, Hawk sees, and of course, everything else sees disappearing too. So, Toga sees that Ochaku, of course, she accepted what she said, this stuff she has done. So then she proceeds to, while she's in her naked form, yes, Himiko Toga is butt naked, though the anime has it where she's wearing this white covering, which she debuted, I believe, back in season 4 of the show, I believe it was, during the, I think it was late season 3, I think it was, they debuted this thing. Actually, no, I think it may have been season 4 they debuted it, I remember correctly. Because she was posing as Cammy, and she basically showed up this very form. In the manga, she was definitely naked. So, she then proceeds to do something that Twice did to her back in, I believe it was the end of season 5 I think it was 5. Yeah, 5 for the show, where Twice gave her a blood transfusion when transformed as herself. Himiko Toga does the same thing for Ochaku. Gives her a blood transfusion, even stitched up the stab wound that she just did the last episode. Gives blood transfusion, and basically she lies down right next to her. And no, there's nothing romantic on here. She just lies down because she's basically has no energy to stand. Meanwhile, though, we pick up where we left off from not the previous episode, but 2 episodes ago, where All Might puts on his armor, becomes basically the show's version of Iron Man. Meet the All Might armor, yes, which this thing has basically duplicate quirks of all of the students of Class 1A. He not only replicates Deku's quirk, he also replicates Red Riot, Pinky, Kaminari, yes, Kaminari, Ingenium. Surprisingly, not Bakudo for some reason. Yeah, not Bakudo. So, by the way, Menta and Froppy are out cold. Because they've been out that way since last couple episodes. I mean, it's sad that we don't hear Monica Rial playing Froppy one last time. But it's not her fault the fact she had no lines this episode. It's basically how the chapter presented. So, that's the fault of the manga, not the fault of the anime. So, and then we have this massive brawl between All Might and All For One. Where All For One is basically the aging like crazy thanks to Ares' reverse drug. You know, the drug that was introduced back in season 4 of the show. Yep. So All Might basic armor is failing, and then of course, while this is going on, Deku and Shigaraki are still fighting. Yes, consider the Black Whip, and that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. It's like we finished up one battle for a major battle that lasts for quite a while, and we continue 2 battles. And then we leave off on a cliffhanger where we see it looks like the ruins of UA, and there is a All Might playing card with blood on it, and then it says to be continued in the final season of the show, which I knew about this a couple weeks ago, the fact that that season 8 was coming, and the fact that that was not a surprise. Basically, for me, finding out that season 8 was going to be the final season show, no, that's surprising. I'll get to it in a minute. Basically, but overall, great episode. Absolutely fantastic. First, before I go on to what's going on forward, so, final thoughts on Season 7 for the show. I gotta admit, this season was a lot of fun. Now, it was surprisingly shorter than the last, oh my gosh, the last 5 seasons of the show. Because since season 2, each season has been 26 episodes apiece. This is by far the first time since season 1 that we don't have a season lasting 26 episodes. This one lasting 21. And also, them replacing, I believe it was the because basically My Hero does this thing, starting with season 2 of the show, where like halfway through the season, the opening theme song changes. This one did it because it was 20 episodes. They did it right around episode 10. Like, basically episode 11 they did this, which is kind of shocking, the fact that point in the series. But given the fact it's not as long as the previous season's show, that's the reason we have it there. I'd say the season was a lot of fun. It definitely was an improvement to last season. Yes, definitely. A good amount of action. And here's a surprise for you. Like, for this season, no major hero character dies. The only death we get the whole season is Giant Machia. And that is shocking, the fact that he's the only one who officially died. Mount Lady doesn't die. She gets wounded, again. But Giant Machia dies, which that is shocking, the fact to kill off that character. And that character was introduced back in, like, I think it was like late season 4 of the show. And here he is in the penultimate season, gets killed off by All For One. Which, yeah, that's like the only major death. I mean, you don't see any other deaths in the show, which is kind of interesting. We do see a capture of some villains. But one thing kind of interesting about the season for the show, this, I believe it was the first season of My Hero that was dubbed by Crunchyroll. Yes. You're probably thinking, really? This is the first one? Yes, because the first 6 seasons of the show was dubbed by Funimation. Funimation, the app, shut down back in April, so it was kind of not surprising given the fact that this season would be dubbed by Crunchyroll. From what I've heard from Kyle Phillips, this is a contract dub, not a licensed dub. I think they had probably do it because they're contractually obligated. Because they're probably, my guess is that Crunchyroll must inherit a lot of licenses when they merged with Funimation. Though prior to this, Funimation had moving series over to Crunchyroll before they shut down. And as of currently, there's about 180 anime that don't have a streaming service on for them. As for why they couldn't have put them on Crunchyroll, I don't know why. Or why some other streaming service can pick up. Like, I haven't heard anything of Netflix or Hi-Dive picking them up. Do I think the Crunchyroll probably needs this series? I mean, you gotta get these series at home. I mean, it's shocking the fact that we have these series that don't have a home. And to date, I've not heard any update on that. Like, it's been like 6 months since they shut down Funimation. Though at the time, basically, when they shut it down, I wasn't subscribed to it anymore. You're probably asking, why? Why weren't you subscribed to them anymore? Well, I had stopped paying for them for simply a very good reason. I initially kept Funimation for a while because they had a dub for One Piece. That was pretty much the reason why that I kept it. And then, all of a sudden they announced, oh, One Piece the dub is officially going to Crunchyroll. Because a lot of shows I watched on Crunchyroll. I didn't, like, by the time I basically ended my subscription with Funimation, I wasn't watching much of it anyways. I was watching maybe like one anime. Like, One Piece I was still watching on Crunchyroll. The only time I watched anything on Funimation was probably the One Piece dub. Unless of course it wasn't on Crunchyroll, I was generally watching on Funimation. Yes. I'll talk more about that in a couple months about anime this year. But this season also had release of a movie, which, from what I have heard from Kyle Phillips, and I do agree with this, there was barely a promotion for the recent movie. Yes. The 4th movie. Crunchyroll did not promote it for some reason. Like, here's the weird thing. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Melissa Shields made an appearance in this last episode, which I was shocked to see her. And this only was her third appearance in the main series. She did make a cameo in episode 156. Yeah, they brought her and the siblings from the third movie into the show. Heck, they even brought in two characters who just featured in the last movie in the show. Which I found that to be interesting. I do appreciate the fact they included these characters in the anime. Well, the manga had technically already included them, thanks to the fact they debuted in chapter 384, which actually was not in this volume, was actually in the previous volume for the series. Yep. Though this season not only is the penultimate season of the show, it is also noteworthy for being the last season to air with the My Hero Academia manga being published. Because as of 2 months ago, they ended the manga. Yeah. I was kind of shocked the fact when I heard it was going to end. I didn't realize it was I was shocked the fact it ended at the start of August. Yes. And then here's the weird thing. 1 month later, we had the end Jujutsu Kaisen. Of course, talk more about that in a couple months. But I did find this to be a really good season. The movie I thought was really good. That thing was an improvement over the last movie. In terms of the villain, yes. At least it wasn't as lame as the last villain. Yeah, the last movie's villain was very lame. He had very, very poor motivation. At least in the case of Dark Might, at least he had a very good motivation. He at least was enjoyable on screen. It's not just due to the fact that Sabbath voiced him too. He was just purely awesome. Yes, he showed the fact that Sab basically still has chops to play a villain. Good on him for playing Dark Might. Now, one thing interesting I believe for this season was that I think this was the season, I think maybe the last season I think it was, where it actually had All Might's first interaction with Stain the Hero Killer. Yes, that is quite interesting. Now, why did I suspect next season would be the last one? Because the manga ended. That was simply the reason for it. I kind of predicted it. It was very predictable that the final next season would be the last one. Now, how long it's going to be? That's a question mark. Yes. Why do I think it's a question mark? Because if you're going to ask me personally, okay, because this episode went to basically 398. There is exactly 10, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. There is roughly 26 chapters left to go for this arc. Overall, for the whole series, there are 32 left to go for the whole series. How do I think they'll adapt the last season? Do I think it's going to be 2 episodes? Given the fact it's the last season's show, I don't think it's going to be 12. No. If I best guess this, it's probably going to be... if I would take a guess at this, they might do the 3-chapter thing. I would recommend doing that. The stretches out as best they can. So you can presumably get done the final arc in just 13 episodes. The rest of the arc. I'd say the final arc you can do in 3. So I am predicting that season 8 will be 16 episodes. If they do 3 chapters episode, that would be absolutely perfect. And it'd be the first season to air with no new manga. Yes. But here's the ultimate question. When the series ends, What's next for My Hero? Well, they could adapt the prequel series if they wanted to. I mean, there's a good amount of chapters for it. I could say yes, I could see that to be adapted. Excuse me. I could potentially see team up missions be adapted. That's a fun series. I could definitely see that would be adapted for like a quick mini series. Like you can easily adapt because like each chapter is an adventure for that thing. It's a one shot chapter each time. So I could potentially see that be adapted. Given like how really good the team up manga is. So that could be potentially after the show. Vigilantes, I think that given the fact it's a 126 chapter manga, it is basically season publication. And it'd be a great way to explore the past of these characters. Well, the older characters. You get chances. Now you might think, oh, it's a prequel series. Would it ignore continuity? No. It's one of those rare, I've heard it's one of the rare prequel manga that's actually really good. And I've heard no complaints about it at all. It doesn't contradict basically established in present day. It's mostly about exploring some new characters, while also having the more popular characters as supporting characters. Like All Might is there occasionally, but he's not a primary character. I'd say the primary characters who are not the original characters for the series is probably Eraserhead and maybe Hawks. I think like a few others. Though, one thing it'd be interesting you could see adapted for Vigilantes is the explanation for the creation of Isurugi, the character who has the power to warp gate. Because you could say he was created thanks to the events of chapter 60 of the manga, of the Vigilantes manga, that is. You could see a potential this still likely adapted. I mean, it's the best possible thing they can do with My Hero to keep the franchise going is adapt the prequel manga. I mean, how many seasons can you get out of this series? I'd say 2, maybe 3 at most, given the fact it's not as long as My Hero. Yes. Now, am I going to review anything left for My Hero? Like, is there anything left to review right now? Yes. Yes, there is. There is OVAs to review. I'll probably review them a little bit later, but in the case right now, probably have occasionally, unless of course there's in the case of light novels per se, those costs potentially adapted too. I don't see anything where those be adapted. Like you could adapt those for like a quick, I would not say a movie per se. I mean, the one thing I love about the light novels, it's mostly put expanding upon stuff that was briefly mentioned in the manga and expands the personal side of it. I could see that potentially adapted for an anime too. I mean, they're overall 6 volumes. I haven't heard anything if it's going to be book 7 or not. The book series is really good. The problem with the book series is that this is kind of weird. The odd number books are really good, and the even number books are a bit of a step down from the previous book. Yeah. Could they adapt it? It's possible. They could. But one thing interesting about those light novels, I believe it was the 4th one, I think it was, one focused on the School Festival. This one actually featured the play that Class 1B performed that was mentioned they were going to do in the manga that the anime did not have time to adapt. I could see this potentially adapted. I think so. I'd say when the series ends, the main series, I'd say you can adapt Vigilantes, team missions. Team missions, I could see maybe 1 season out of that one. But as for the light novels, this I could see probably 2 full seasons out of these ones. It depends on how long it. I'd say actually no. I think this might take about 3 or 4 seasons. It depends on how long it takes to adapt a whole full light novel. They could probably mix and match it with probably just do like a whole volume and then do like a team mission in between. That's possible to breathe it out a bit. You could adapt this like an anthology series. But that depends what Studio Bones what they're going to do. But that's the ultimate question. When the anime wraps up with season 8, what's next? I've given my suggestion. I'm sure people probably have their own suggestions what's going to happen next with this series. There's also been rumor for quite a while of a sequel series to My Hero. Do I think so? It does leave it open for a sequel. The joke was like, My Hero Academia 2 Electric Boogaloo. That was a joke by the writer even going to call it that. I don't think he's going to call it that, but I would not be surprised if we get a sequel series as one. I mean, Naruto says it's just with Boruto, and Bleach has had its own sort of continuation stuff. So I could see potentially that be there, but that depends. Okay, so yeah, that's particularly it. Particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. So I'll see you all tomorrow for basically the rest of my anime, and who knows? Okay, next video. Bye.